Welcome to the Amazing Authorities Podcast, where game changers, visionaries, and category leaders share how they built their brands, platforms, and global influence. Your host is Mitch Carson, international speaker, media strategist, and creator of the Instant Authority System. If you're ready to learn from those who've done it and want to become the go-to expert in your space, you're in the right place.
When you have worked or in school, there's always going to be somebody who's a bully. And we've been affected by that. We've either seen it, we've been a victim of it, or we've been a bully ourselves. Oh, God forbid. There are only three options here. But the lasting impact of being bullied can last decades. And today's guest, Colleen McAvoy from Canberra, Australia, is going to distill her experience regarding bullies. And Bullies Be Gone. Colleen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Mitch. Nice to be here.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting about the bully part, and I'm going to make a confession right here at the beginning. In fifth grade, I was a bully. I beat up a kid. What do you beat up when you're 10 years old? I socked a kid in the arm because he called me a name. So was I a bully because I got violent first? Possibly. And he cried, ran to the teacher. I had to go to the principal's office, and I got paddled for it because that's what happened. This is 1970, to reveal my age. I think we talked about, this before. So I was paddled for him. Well, here's what happened. Years later, he became a bodybuilder and an enormous guy. And then he called me, got my number from a mutual. I hadn't talked to him. I didn't see him through high school, didn't have any connection to him. He sent me a picture of how big he become and said, "Mitch Carson, I want to fight you." Because it left a scar. From 10 years old, I made him cry because I punched him in the arm when we were 10-year-olds. He said, "You bullied me, and now it's my turn to bully you back." We were in our 50s, late 50s at this point. He held on to this grudge.
It took a long time to get his power up, didn't he?
Real, but I think the emotional damage of bullies can be huge. And then about this. We've all been kids. We've either seen it, or been a victim of it. And I have been a victim of being bullied as well. And then there's the workplace. How do you deal with this, with bullies? Because I did this at 10, so I grew up. I wasn't a bully anymore, but when I remember I was accused of it, and then it came full circle when I was in my late 50s.
Yeah, you never know the effect you have on somebody else. It could even just be a smile. It's interesting how we all interact. Mm.
And you got involved in this space, but tell us what motivated you.
Well, I had a long career in administrative type roles in big organisations, and also prior to that in private medical institutions. And in this last one that I was in, I had a succession of 3 really narcissistic females that were my managers. And I thought, oh, yeah. So I tried to get away from the first. I didn't even want to go with the first one, but it was a restructure going on in the organisation that I was in, and they said that I had to go, and so I went. And I told them I didn't want to work with this particular person because she had a really bad reputation, and I'd seen how she'd operated in the office and interacted with people, and I thought, don't really want to work with that woman. But it turned out that I had to, and they said she was going to be retiring, just put up with it, and okay, I'll make it the best as I can. But anyway, it didn't work out very well. So I thought, I'm not staying here any longer. I'll go to a different job. And I managed to move sideways to a different job. Bing bong, another lady who's a similar vein. And so I was working with her and I thought, this is not getting any better. Even day 2, she was criticising one of the staff to me. And I'd only been there 2 days. And I thought, you shouldn't even be doing this. This is not appropriate. So I thought, right, let's get out of here too. So I went back to a different area and it just got worse. And I thought, this is a sign from the universe. 3 times you're out, like baseball or whatever. 3 times you're out. So I tried to make it better going up the chain with the management and it was not improving. HR wasn't any help. I saw their counselling service and they said, Colleen, that organisation is so bad. You really want to get out of there. So I thought, if they're telling me that, I'm going.
Well, let me before we move on, let's go back to HR, which is supposed to be the safe zone for employees. They're supposed to be armchair psychologists of sorts. They dispense the value of benefits, and they're the cheerleading team, or supposed to be, for the employees. What did they say about bully number 1? Or let's just say caustic person number 1?
I sent them an email because everything is email these days. You can't talk to anyone on a help desk anymore because everything's become, depersonalised in that regard. And I'm generalising. I sent the email headed in bold letters, urgent, bullying and harassment advice, please, something along that line. It took them a month to get back to me. And in between time, I thought, I can't put up with this. So I was doing things under my own steam. I was checking what the organisation offered with their policies and so forth, because I was trying to be proactive to make it better. I didn't want to be in a bad situation. So HR was useless. When they got to me, I said, look, I've already dealt with it. I did have another job lined up at that point. So I went away from that first place and went to the second one.
And?
So I look to see with these people too, they tend to have the hierarchy under their wing. They kind of have this way of putting a spell over them or something. They like their best buddies and they'll go off and they'll have coffees together and they're, they're really good, but the higher ups don't see how these people are operating on the floor as such. And it's sort of like us against them in some situations. While you know that you've got integrity and honesty and all that sort of stuff, when you're up against someone who's got this really tight relationship with their management, it makes it really difficult and you get disempowered from that in a way.
And how did you ever feel it was okay? Were you ever given permission to give feedback to your boss and say, I don't like the way you're talking to me? Or what would happen in an Australian culture or in the work culture there?
Depends on how strong you feel in yourself and what relationship that you have developed in a way of your relationship, not the way they're treating you, but the way you have your relationship. Like the last one even said to me, oh, I'm so glad we can still be friends while all this is going on. She was threatening me with performance management. And I thought, woo back, you're not my friend. I'm treating you in a business-like manner because that's what we're meant to do. We're meant to be here professionally at work, working as a team. And you're not my friend. I would not have you on my Christmas card list the way you're treating me, but I'll treat you with
told her
respect.
that?
I didn't tell her that, no. I just was shocked that she even thought that we were still friendly because that's the way I treated her. Yet she was treating me she even said to me, do you think you're getting slower? Like, that's ageist. And I said, no, I don't. Excuse me, I don't think I am. Anyway, I'll cut this down.
Was she older than you or younger? I mean, I'm just curious how you dealt with this.
She's slightly younger, I guess.
Okay.
I just said, no, I don't. I just said, I think perhaps that the last 6 years with this pandemic situation has been hard on everybody. Like the whole organisation where I was quite involved with all of that, with the public, because it was a Commonwealth Government agency. So we had to change totally. We had to jump to and assess applications and all sorts of things. It was just a very dynamic environment, which we were all expected just to jump to and do, even working from home. Once upon a time, they said, oh, no, you can't work from home, occupational therapy, occupational assessment for your home and all that sort of stuff. As soon as COVID came, here's a laptop, go home. Like, it was just crazy. The whole world got so crazy. And it didn't get any better much when we all got back into the workplace. But anyway.
Well, so what have you found about bullies? What do they carry as a common thread?
They have this need for power, from what I've experienced. I'm
Okay.
generalising. Uh, Even when they're speaking with you face to face, their face is very determined, very, I'm go- in my interpretation, I'm going to get power over you. That's how I see it. Um, they seem to have this need to be in control of everything. Like I've got a bit of a control thing too. I don't say that I don't have that, but not in a nasty way. It's just that they seem to disregard you as being a valuable person. They disregard your abilities. They disregard your integrity, your loyalty, even. Like I'm always loyal wherever I go, unless I have someone do something really bad to me, then I start to get my back up, I suppose. But you're looking at, that's my interpretation. They seem to have this need for power over you or people. And sometimes their face screws up like as if they're going to punch you. They're like it's that's just. And I'm also a natural therapist, and I do healing work as well. And I actually feel their energy. So when I feel that energy building up, it's not coming from a loving space. It's coming from a dark sort of a space, is what I would interpret it as. Yes.
Do you believe they can eliminate or stop being a bully? Is that possible to correct their bullying nature? Or do you think once a bully, always a bully?
I think we all have choices in life, and it's much easier to be nice to people than to be awful to people. Um,
Totally agree. It's a
it,
choice.
yeah, yeah. And maybe it's coming from a trauma, like you were saying about that young fellow when you were at school and you punched him in the arm and he held that for years and years. So much.
Decades. Decades.
Yes.
Decades. This was decades. We were in
Oh,
our bloody 50s.
yeah. And how sad is that? That's overpowered his whole life. That worry about what that punch in the arm did to him, that it took him even to his 50s to still be hanging on to that. That's really sad. Life's meant to be lived fully, and he's let that hold him back. Although he did become a bodybuilder, that's one positive maybe out of it. I don't know.
Well, he did it because he was bullied, not just by me, because he brought it on all on himself. This is a
Oh,
guy that was screaming for attention,
oh,
and he called us names and would run away. And I was
oh,
fast, so I caught him. I was one of the few that was fast enough to catch him, and I popped him in the arm, and he
yeah,
cried.
yeah.
And other people couldn't catch him because he was very fast, but he made comments to everybody. That was his way of getting attention.
Oh,
Call us names. We were 10. This is fifth
yes,
grade. This is what
yes,
boys do,
yeah,
and maybe I hit him too hard in the arm. Who knows? We were 10 years old.
yeah,
And he overcompensated years later. And then I found out that he had all sorts of troubles in his life later also. He
yeah.
was a little bit loony, ended up in psych hospitals and all this. So he wasn't well.
No.
And but that effect, that emotional trauma of the
Mm,
bully can be there. I mean, and it doesn't have to be physical bully. It can be the emotional bully, in relationships. But
mm.
how do you manage bullies today? What's in your toolbox, Colleen?
First of all, recognizing where they might be coming from as much as you can, because as you know, you can be carrying a lot of trauma from childhood. And when I hear some people's stories, they've lived such shocking lives, and the fact that they're still alive is a real bonus in that so many people can't cope with what they've already been through. I'm not saying the people that I worked with had any of that sort of stuff going on. That's not what I'm saying. But I tend to always treat people with love and care. And I usually get that reciprocated because it tends to work. But when it doesn't get reciprocated, I look deeper and I think, okay, what are their needs? Why are they doing this? What's going on in the background? I try and assess it. I'm not a psychologist. I just from life learnings.
Well,
Um,
you have experience. You have every right to understand because you've been on the receiving end and to dispense. Okay, how do you handle it? How do you talk to, or how would you address someone that, let's say, is 30 years younger than you? Because you're only 35. So how do you talk to a 5-year-old who is getting bullied?
I've got practice as a grandparent.
Yeah, well, what's your counsel to, let's say we just mentioned you have 3 grandkids. What's your counsel? Because one of them, just because of life, is going to get bullied. It's going to happen. And who knows, maybe they'll be bullying somebody. You never know. What is your counsel today based on your life experience for your grandkid? Because your kids are already grown, I would imagine. So that time has passed. But now you've got 2 generations of having to deal with it. From your experience, your kids probably had some experience with it at some point. Now you got the grandkids. What have you learned and can help with that generation?
I think it does come back to the energy level of things. If you buy into the energy of what that person's projecting, you actually grow that energy. You make it worse. It's like a bounce thing, like, you're pushing magnets at one another or whatever. And so, first of all, you need to stop and breathe and think this through. You don't just go reacting straight away, because it's not what will help the situation if you bounce straight back on it. You need to actually take a breath, think about what's going on, and think, would you want that done to me? Really, it's that old adage of, not an adage, it's a statement from the Bible: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I know when you're in an emotional situation that it's hard to think sanely or in a balanced way. Sometimes you get so riled up, but you really need to stop and think, if I go and do this now, how's that going to affect the other person or the environment? Or stop and assess the situation, take a breath, even take some deep breaths to sort of calm down. That's a big thing. We often find we're breathing from our upper chest space and not deep down in our abdomen, because we're in a fight or flight sort of situation. I've just lost my train of thought now. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. It's just, I was saying, what advice do you give them? Take a deep breath. If I'm to distill what you just said, reassess before you react. And I think respirating, breathing gives us maybe almost a reset, is what I understood from what you're saying. And that's great counsel. Take a deep breath before you respond. Think before you act, because sometimes those quick actions can have serious consequences.
Yes. But if you're in a situation where someone's going to belt you up, you have to think quickly. So you can't just take all the time in the world, but it's just depends.
But I'm talking about in the verbal arena. Yeah, physically, you have, that's a whole different question. Yeah, if someone has caught their arm cocked, you better be braced for impact or how to block it or counter. Yes. So that's a different. So all right, your kids, were they ever subjected to bullying?
Not really. I'm just thinking back as we were speaking. Not really. I think they were. I think they're quite strong in their own selves. I don't think. Not that they haven't told me. Actually, I don't know. They may have had something happen, and I don't know about it. My parents probably don't know a lot about the things that happened to me too. So, not that I can remember. But,
when you were referring to these women that were, I would call them a bit caustic. It sounds like difficult to work with. And did you ever give them feedback when you left the department or where they were, or would that have been career suicide?
I tried to keep on things on an even keel the whole time, to keep the dialogue open. And it got to the point where, everything was being in a meeting format. There was, dialogue was being put into a document, so it was in case there was legal things going on afterwards, all that sort of stuff. It just got so uncomfortable, not the way I want to live. And I did seek legal advice, and they said, you've got a very good case. They said, but it can take years. And even my doctor, because I started to get palpitations and shaking and not sleeping, which I was upset with myself about, because I know energetically that's giving your power away when it starts to affect your body like that.
Yes.
So, but I am human, and these things can happen. It's a sign from your body that things aren't right and you need to deal with them. So I didn't actually formally say, you're a bully and I'm out of here. I didn't go down that path and tell them that. I just tried to find better ways, because I could see they were personalities that weren't going to change. I could see that it would be my word against them, because they had their relationship with the upper management. And I just thought, well, this is not my playground. I need to go and find another one. So, while I tried to do the best I can with what tools I had available, I could see that it was just not going to, it's like pushing up against a brick wall. You could see it wasn't going to make a difference anyway. And why bother? You know, they're living that life. They want to live in that state of mind. That's their business. I don't want to be a part of it, and I'll find somewhere else. And I have. I've found lots of other wonderful places to be. I'm learning lots of different things, and I'm realising that my value is much more than what they were trying to make me be. I'm a very capable person with lots of wonderful experience, and I can make a difference in the world in a gentle way. I don't have to be out there being a president or a whatever of anything. I can just be out there being myself and let that effect ripple out to the world, and hopefully that makes the world a little bit better place.
No, that's a nice attitude. Well, let me unpack a little bit of what you shared. You knew that they weren't going to change. These,
No.
let's just call, all right, they were there. So you have two choices. You have, well, actually three choices. You can confront them. You continue and see if that'll help mend the situation or improve the situation by communication. Second, you're mentioning you can stay, but then your anxiety and sleepless nights continue. Or three, you just remove yourself from the situation.
Yep.
When do you know that it's time to remove yourself from the situation? When you've exhausted options 1 and 2?
Yes, and when I was getting outside advice saying you shouldn't be there, you should be doing something else. Like it's not I was doing the jobs that I was doing for safe income, you know, because you want to have a family income. If I went to try and do anything dynamic, start a business up for myself, there's risk with that. You weren't going to have that regular income, which is partly why I suffered it out. But I just want to add too, with those people, it wasn't just me they were bullying other people as well. And I could see what they were doing, and I could see how they were operating, and I thought, and the other people weren't doing anything about it. They were just putting up with it. And I thought, I'm not putting up with this. People don't have the right to treat others that way. I'm not going, if I can't make this better, I'm going, because there's no point in hanging about. Life is too short. You need to be out there having a happy life, a healthy life, not one where you're putting up with people who are just of a different mindset to you. You don't need to be with them. You can go and do other
disrespectful,
things.
Isn't it?
Oh, so disrespectful and evil in a lot of ways, because why are they doing that? It comes from an evil base as far as I'm concerned. Whether it's trauma or not, it's still sort of an evil thing. It's not coming from a love space at all, which is where I tend to operate from. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we could get into the spiritual realm / religious realm with that. I mean, there's some people would say, you know, they're more in the camp of the devil versus, let's say, a more self-actualized area of treating people with respect, and they're more God-inspired. Do you subscribe to that?
I have a spiritual base, I suppose. I believe there's a divine source. For religion, I appreciate what they offer, but it's not what I commit to.
Got it.
I'm not being held down by a particular organisation or a structure or anything like that. I believe that we're all part of the divine spirit, and no one rules us in that regard. It's a direct link. It's not a, you know, thou shalt not or anything like that. It's more of what a lot of the things in the Bible are of what we should be living by. I mean, the 10 Commandments.
Good principles. Yeah, they're
great
good
base. Great base.
Yeah.
But I'm not having anyone tell me that I can, you know, go and confess my sins or whatever one day and I can go and do them again the next day. I don't think that's right.
No, I don't either. That's a flaw in the system.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things about it, but I'm not committed to it as such. I appreciate the good things out of it, I suppose.
Yeah, there are good guidelines, but yeah, that is the flaw of a particular branch of a religion, that you can go and confess, be absolved, and then they go out and do it again. Go back on Sunday and get absolved once again, a little holy water, and oh yeah, you're good. That doesn't, there are no consequences. Sort of there. So how do you help people, Colleen?
Well, at the moment, I'm writing my book, Bullies Be Gone.
Okay.
10 ways to deal with, no, I actually do this. Bullies Be Gone! 10 ways to
Okay.
deal
All
with
right.
with a magic wand. I haven't got it with me today, but I've got a magic wand and I
Okay.
do that. 10 ways to deal with harassment and discrimination in the workplace. And in the book, I've identified what is bullying, harassment and discrimination. I've looked at ways that the organisations operate, the policies that are there to protect people in the workplace, because it's supposed to be a safe working environment. So I've looked at all of those sort of sides of the formal side of it, whether or not you would go down a legal path or not, which is up to the person themselves. I did hear of a case the other day that was still going on after 11 years with the legal system, and I thought, I'm so glad I didn't go down that path, because it just keeps you in that mindset, that horrible overhanging of your life all the time, you know?
And draining emotionally, spiritually, everything. Do you have a
Terrible.
copy of the book to show us?
It's at the moment, it's in the formatting stage. So I'm hoping it'll be published sort of in a few weeks' time. I'm hoping it'll be published by then.
But you've been in another book you have handy.
I have, I've just got a sheet of the one about.
Well, that's fine.
one
Bullies Be Gone. Yeah, well, that's fine. We at least get a tease of what's coming.
Yeah, I'm sorry about the quality of the hold
No
up there that
problem.
was
It
a bit
works
shiny.
It works
Sorry.
fine. People understand that. It's just the pre-print run just to show us what it's like. So Bullies Be Gone. That'll be coming out soon.
Yes,
And
soon.
where can people get in touch with you, Colleen?
I have a website. It's called www.bulliesbegone.now.com.
So
And-
BULLIESBEGONE begone.com. Bulliesbegone.com for the audio people.
Yes, it's got now after Bullies Be Gone. So it's bulliesbegone.now altogether.com.
Okay.
And I have an email address too if you'd like to email.
Yes.
It's Bullies Be Gone, BULLIESBEGONE at Proton Mail, PROTON mail altogether.com.
Well, let's get rid of bullies. Let's make them gone. Or give them measures to correct whatever pain is going on inside them, inadequacies, because it's their own trauma, but deal with it as opposed to slapping that on other people who are innocent and don't want that energy.
Absolutely.
Whatever traumas they've gone through, don't make that everybody else's problem and being punished for your dad smacking your bum.
Yeah, exactly.
Or whatever that is. It's not nice, and treat people with respect.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the book also, I discuss ways of looking after yourself, because this has often mental and emotional effects on people to a high degree. I mean, you do hear of people actually taking their lives. I saw a program the other day and a man was working in a university environment and they were cutting back staff, and he got to the point where he's so overworked. Something had happened that he'd missed doing, and someone was about to threaten to sue him personally for not getting this thing done. And so he got so overwhelmed that he actually took his own life. And that's awful. No one should ever get to that situation. So I'm not saying that I can help people totally, but I've offered ideas of the ways you can actually take care of yourself and have a focus on the way forward, rather than feeling like you're alone and it's such a horrible situation that you're never going to get out of it. You feel stuck. So I've offered ideas to compensate and to move forward, and looking at different careers and ideas that you may not have, thought of before. So
that's great. Thank you for your time today on the Amazing Authorities podcast. Bullies Be Gone. Colleen McAvoy has been our exceptional guest today on the Amazing Authorities podcast, and she will be back again when these books are out there in the marketplace, bestseller status. And she's out there to help people who are victims of bullies, either in the workplace or at home or at schools for kids. It applies. So your little bit of help can help and have a ripple effect with people who are emotionally traumatized. And that has a lasting effect, as I shared earlier in our show. Colleen, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Mitch. It's been great. Thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning in to the Amazing Authorities podcast. If today's episode inspired you, take a moment to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps more experts like you rise to the top. For behind-the-scenes access and free resources to boost your authority, head to MitchCarson.com. Until next time, stay amazing.